Hi, Jexiteers. Thanks for stopping by again. If you're new to the channel, my name is Riley and I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. And I make videos that help other former Jehovah's Witnesses to recover from the indoctrination and the spiritual abuse that they received at the hands of the Watchtower organization. So today I want to talk about independence. Now, the topic for this video was motivated by a comment that I received on one of my videos. I mean, this video isn't a direct response to that comment, but the comment did get me thinking. So, two viewers were, debating with each other in the comment section, and it was really about independence. And one of them, who I assume is a current Jehovah's Witness, was of the opinion that independence from God is a bad thing. And being independent from God is basically satanic, because it was Satan who first originated the idea of being independent from God when he deceived Eve into eating the fruit. That was basically her wanting independence. That was her wanting independence from God. And here we are thousands of years later, and the world is messed up as a result of that. So independence from God is a bad thing in his view, and also in the view of the JW organization. But is it? Is independence from God really a bad thing? I think now that the answer to that question is definitely no. It's not a bad thing. And I'll explain to you why. I was almost born into the Jehovah's Witness organization. I was raised in it from the age of 2. I was 2 when my mum started studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was 6 when she got baptized. So pretty much raised as a witness my whole life. But all that time, I didn't really understand who Jehovah, or the God of the Bible as taught by Jehovah's Witnesses, was. I didn't really understand him. I had a lot of questions. I had some doubts. I loved a few things about the organization. I loved the fellowship, the brotherhood. I had some really good friends. I loved all of that. The doctrine itself made sense to me at the time. But Jehovah himself as a person, I didn't completely understand. I didn't completely understand a lot of the prohibitions, a lot of the rules, until I became a father. When I had my first child, when my former wife and I had our first child, so many things started to make sense to me. Because I saw Jehovah's role over humanity as a parallel of my role as a father over my children, or my new child. So a lot of things made sense to me. I reasoned to myself like this: my child is very, very young. She's immature for virtue of being a child. So there are certain rules that I give to her that she's not old enough and mature enough to understand. But I have her best interests at heart, so it would be beneficial for her to follow those rules, even if she doesn't understand them, even if they don't make sense to her. I want for her to trust in my love for her so much that she follows my rules and follows my directions and instructions, even if she doesn't understand them, because she trusts me. So I said to myself, that's exactly how Jehovah God is with us. He's infinitely wiser and more mature than we are as humans, and we are like his children. So sometimes he will give us instructions or directions or prohibitions that we don't necessarily understand. But because we trust that he has our best interests at heart, we follow them anyway. That's how I reconciled to myself the things that I didn't understand. So to me, back then, independence from God was a bad thing. It was totally a bad thing. And I could totally get the line of reasoning that this person made in my comments, that independence from God is a bad thing. Eve wanted independence from God, and look what happened as a result of that. So we shouldn't want independence from God either. You know, I reasoned to myself that God is a parent and we are his children. And when I came to that understanding, all of the, a lot of the concerns that I had went away. I feel differently now because there's a difference. There is a big difference. And the difference is that loving parents want their children to eventually become independent from them. There's no loving parent that wants their child to be dependent on them for life. If you're a parent, you'll be able to relate to this. You don't want your adult children to be dependent on you. The whole purpose of parents is to educate, raise, and look after their child until they're old enough to do those things for themselves. The whole purpose of parenting can be described as preparing your child for when you're no longer there, so that they'll be fine when you're no longer there. And they can't do that unless they're independent. And I'm willing to bet that most, if not all, reasonable and loving parents would agree with those sentiments. But the God of the Bible, or at least the God of the Bible that Jehovah's Witnesses preach and teach, doesn't want his children to be independent of him. So how can that be a good thing? Children don't always agree that parents want them to one day be independent of them. You know, a few years back on a family holiday, we woke up one morning and we, made plans for what we were going to do that day. But then my eldest daughter and my wife at the time had an argument, and my eldest daughter was really, really upset. So I said to my wife, I said, okay, she's upset. I'm going to take her out and have a chat with her. You guys go ahead and, go and do what we'd planned to do. And when we are finished, we'll meet up with you later. So that's what we did. So I took her to the local food court, and we went and got ice cream, because ice cream makes everything better. So we were sitting down eating our ice cream. So I said to her, okay, so why are you so upset? I can't remember what it was they were arguing about, but I could tell that it was more than what they were arguing about. There was something more to it. So I said to her, why are you so upset? She said that she feels that her mum treats her like a child and doesn't want her to grow up, and, stuff like that. Normal teenage stuff. It's a common complaint from teenagers. So I said to her, well, first of all, that's not the case. Your mum and we both want you to, to grow up, and we don't want to treat you like a child. We don't want you to be a child forever. So I said I tried to explain it to her, and I used this analogy. I said to her, what's your favorite takeaway food? I can't remember what she said. Say, for instance, Indian or Chinese. Say it's Chinese. So I said to her, okay, imagine I came home from work one day. I gave you a Chinese menu and I gave you £20 and I said, order whatever you want off the menu. Would you be happy about that? And she said, of course. So I said, okay, so imagine you pick up the phone, you call the Chinese takeaway, you place your order. And then as soon as you put the phone down, there's a knock on the door. Immediately, literally the second you put the phone down, there's a knock on the door. You go to the door and it's your food being delivered. Literally seconds after you've placed the order. How would you feel? She said she wouldn't believe it. I said, why wouldn't you believe it? She said, because it came too quickly. So I said to her, does the fact that it arrived too quickly or more quickly than you were expecting, does that mean that you don't want it anymore? And she said, no, of course I still want it. I'm just, I just react that way because it just came so quickly. So I said, okay, so you're reacting with disbelief, but you still want the food. She said, of course. So I said to her, that's exactly how it is for parents seeing their children grow up. Time passes very, very differently for adults than it does for children. For children, time passes very, very slowly, but for adults, time passes quickly. So when you get to an age when you're getting older and you feel that you're old enough to be able to do certain things, and in a lot of cases you are old enough to do those things, we react with disbelief because to us it's happened too quickly. But it doesn't mean we don't want you to do those things. We still want you to do those things. We still want you to grow up. We still want you to have your independence. It's just that you grow up so quickly that we react with disbelief, just as how you would react with disbelief of your food arriving so quickly, even though you still want it. So her reply was, but I'm 13. 13 isn't quick. That's not a short period of time. 13 years is a long time. So I said to her, it might be a long time to you, but as humans, we tend to think of time as a proportion of how long we've been alive. When you're 2 years old, 1 year is 50% of your life. That's a big chunk. When you're 3, that 50% is reduced to 33%. When you're 4, it's reduced to a quarter. Imagine when you're 40, how much of a percentage does 1 year take up of your life when you're 40? So 1 year for me is a much shorter period of time than 1 year for you. And then I said to her, you are growing up. I'm proud of the way that you're developing your own thoughts and your own independent way of thinking and reasoning. But I assure you, both your parents want you to grow up and become independent. And we want to treat you like an adult. But if it sometimes seems like we're reluctant to do that, it's just because you're a little further ahead of where you're at than we are. So you just need to be patient with us and just give us a chance to catch up. And she stopped for a minute and then she was like, and then I saw a little smile on the corner of her mouth. Like that little smile that she would do when she's gotten the point and she's realized, that she was not necessarily in the wrong, but she's gotten the point. She's gotten the point. So I knew after that everything was going to be all right. So yeah, that's just an anecdote to show that loving parents do want their children to be independent and grow up and think for themselves and make their own decisions. They may make decisions that you don't necessarily agree with. Your children may even make decisions that end up hurting you. But no loving parent would trade that over a child who wasn't able to make their own decisions in the first place, who was always relying on you to make decisions for them. No parent wants that. So why does Jehovah? I can't get my head around that. That doesn't compute for me. It doesn't compute for me at all. So that's why I feel that, independence from God is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. If he is a loving father, as, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but most, if not all Christian religions proclaim, that God is a father. If he is a loving father, then why is independence from him wrong? He should actually want it himself. So that's my take on it. I just wanted to share that with you. I hadn't planned to make a video today, but I was just reading through some of my comments and that particular one just got me thinking. So I thought, why not share my thoughts? So please let me know what you think. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the matter. Just drop a comment below. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.